Boys and girls. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen. I had a flashback there for a minute. I used to do public speaking at the elementary schools. As a matter of fact, I have some footage. Hello, kids. My name is Officer Tony. And your teacher asked me to talk to you today. So, how are you doing, boys and girls? I have a question for you. Have you ever seen a knife wound? It looks like raw hamburger with maple syrup mixed in. What? Today's episode is about the Telecaster. I'm sure you will enjoy it. I think that's what I'm supposed to say. On with the crap fest.
Hello, Richard from budgetguitarist.com, and today it's all about the Tele, not Tele Savalas. No, the Fender Telecaster. Because I am Richard from budgetguitarist.com, I do not have a $1,000 plus $1,000 American Telecaster. No, that's not how we roll. It's a little surprising I don't have a classic vibe Tele. But quite frankly, when I got this guy, that hadn't been invented yet. So I purchased this guitar from a good friend of mine named Steve Vuklevic. Really, really good Americana music, by the way. Go check him out. I purchased this from him for an undisclosed amount of money. At a time when these sold new for about $500, I got it for less than that. But me being me, of course, I had to do some updates. So I want to kind of talk a little bit about the mods I did, and then I'm going to play it for you and kind of let you hear some of the sounds. Okay, starting at the top. The tuners that came on this guitar, which is a Mexican-made Telecaster, are Fender tuners, and they're totally fine. There's nothing wrong with them. If at some point in time I wanted to upgrade, I could consider buying locking tuners, but quite frankly, these work really well. I see no reason to update them. The nut on this guitar, it's not plastic. I'm not quite sure what it is. Some kind of composite material, but I think it sounds pretty decent. Eventually, maybe I will upgrade the nut, but I don't see the need. I think it sounds good. For the fretwork, I haven't done any fretwork on this guitar. The fretwork on this guitar was very, very good. So far, no mods. Now we get down here. So I tried a bunch of different pickups in this. I put a humbucker up here, tried a bunch of different ones. I got a Seymour Duncan quarter pounder for the bridge position after watching Rob Chapman do it as a mod to, I think, an LTD used Telecaster. Maybe it wasn't used. I tried that out. It was loud, but I wasn't super crazy about it. And then finally I thought, well, Richard, what's your favorite Strat pickups? Well, the Custom Shop Texas Specials. So I said, I know what, I'll put Custom Shop Texas Specials in this guitar. So a word about the Texas Specials. A lot of people love them or hate them. Some people say that they can be kind of harsh, depending on how your amp is set. It's true, they can be. The Texas Special pickups for the Tele are very, very hot. And so they're really designed not for that crystal clear chimey sound, but rather for more of a gritty kind of rock kind of sound, which is what I'm always shooting for. You'll hear that in my selections. The switch and both the pots are stock. This whole tailpiece assembly is not stock. I have Wilkinson, I think it's Wilkinson, Compensated Saddles. So here's what this means. On the original Telecaster, which was introduced in the 50s, you had 2 strings per saddle, and you could adjust the intonation by going back and forth with each saddle, but it would adjust the intonation for 2 strings at the same time. Now that rarely works out very well. Usually there's small differences between the 2 strings. And so what some people did is they decided to make something called compensated saddles. So compensated saddles is where you have, well, I don't know if you can see on here, but this saddle right here is a little further back on this end than it is on this end. So this is closer to the nut than this is. And all three of these are compensated like that. But it does two things for you. Number one, it gives you better intonation, which means your chords are more in tune. Number two, if you have individual saddles on a Tele, in my opinion, that high E string doesn't have enough stability. So when you're playing the high E string, that individual saddle can move down just a little bit. So what that's going to do is it's going to kill your sustain, and it's going to give you a little bit more of a plinky type sound. That's a technical term, plinky. Rhymes with blinky. I think this is a really good mod. Now, this particular piece here, how it comes up on both sides, some people hate that because as they're muting the strings with the palm of their hand, they find it to be inconvenient. And I kind of don't. It's okay, I think, but that is something to think about. You can get compensated saddles, but then have a bridge piece here that's flat to the body on both sides. You might want to look into doing that. Those are pretty much the only mods that I've done to this guitar. I've replaced the pickups and I replaced the bridge and the bridge saddles, but I think it makes a really big difference. I take it back. There's one more thing that I did do. I rounded the edges of the fretboard, and there's a lot of different ways to do that. You can take a screwdriver and just kind of work it back and forth so that you get rid of that harsh edge there. You could take a little bit of sandpaper, maybe something like a 400, and work it that way. It's up to you. Some people say if you sand the edges, you have to be careful because you don't want to create wood that is exposed and then your sweat can get in there and blah, blah, blah. I have not found that to be an issue. Never had an issue rolling the edges of a fretboard, but it makes the guitar play really well. I'm going to play through some of my HX Stomp presets and give you some sounds and talk about it a little bit, and then you can see what you think. There's a reason that I have a Tele in addition to a Strat, and you're about to find out why. In the HX Stomp, this is the US Deluxe model, which is basically a Fender Deluxe amp modeled on that. All right, anyway, so that's clean with both pickups. It sounds Fender, and it sounds like a little twangy, sure, but it doesn't sound like a Strat. Like when you have a Strat and you're using two pickups, it's always got that quacky sound, which normally I love, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just want a nice single coil Fender-y sound. This is it. It's cool, right? Has a nice sustain to it. If you switch to the bridge position, you got this jazz thing going. Let me do the finger thing. All right, anyway. It doesn't sound country, it just sounds like an electric guitar. It's great. And the high E string sounds good, doesn't it? It doesn't sound super thin. I think partially because of this. Now, clean, if you switch to this pickup, it's pretty bright, and it's kind of interesting how this is the sound of funk, but it's also the sound of country, right? So you can see why like Prince chose it. Song on my last album, I used this. This song was You Own It. But here's the country thing. I'm not like super clean with that stuff, but you get the idea, right? Okay, let's go for a kind of gainy sound. Let's go for a crunch sound. How about a nice Hawaiian crunch? This is the Brit Plexi Bright. All right, how about both pickups? It's funky, right? It's Fender funky, but it's not a Strat. So again, it's kind of a cool alternative. So you can do stuff like this. You get the idea. That's like pseudo Stevie Ray Vaughan-ish, like as close as I can come. It's a cool sound though. Let's try a couple others. Brit Plexi again with like a pedal on it. I think it's the Clown Clone. If we're getting into the higher gainy stuff, back to where we started from, which is just the clean Tele sound. You know, I just noticed these strings are not clean at all. They're pretty old. So normally this guitar would sound even zingier. That's a technical phrase. So there you go. The Fender Telecaster, specifically the made in Mexico, the MIM Fender Telecaster. With these two updates, it will sonically give any American Tele a run for its money at 1/3 or 1/2 the price. It is worthy of strong consideration if you want another golf club in your bag, so to speak. Every guitar sounds a little bit different. Okay, two Strats with the same pickups from the same year might not sound that much different, but a Tele sounds different than a Strat. You know what, just for reference sake. See what I'm talking about? Thank you very much for watching. If you liked this video, or maybe even if you didn't, please consider subscribing. Please click the like button. You don't have to smash the like button, but you know, if you would click the like button, that would be fine. If you click the bell, it'll let you know when we have a new video coming out. But I'll tell you what, spoiler alert, we always release new videos at the exact same time, the exact same date each week. We will see you, as per usual, next Friday at 5.
That was great, wasn't it? Or maybe not. Either way, here we are at the end. Now, go do something else. Mow the lawn. Do the dishes. Whatever it is that you do when you're not watching YouTube. I have to go and edit this crappy show into something halfway decent. Ah, jeez.